Vanguard Bandits is a tactical grid-based RPG for the PS1 and PSN. Originally released by Working Designs and now re-released by Monkey Paw Games for PSN, which allows play on both PS3 and PSP systems. The simplest way to describe Vanguard Bandits would be to say that it's as if the classic anime Escaflowne and the Fire Emblem series merged to create this surprisingly well-crafted game. Graphically, Vanguard Bandits is a bit of a mixed bag. It's not the best looking PS1 game, but it's certainly not a slouch either. The intro starts you off with a nice anime FMV that does a good job of welcoming you into the game, although I wish there were more cutscenes like this within the actual game. The environments are all in 3D while characters are 2D sprites. However, when the ATACs, which are this game's version of mobile suits, when they attack each other, you see 3D models of the suits. The attack animations can be turned off if you so please, however I favored keeping them on as I genuinely enjoyed watching the battles unfold. The game also sports some anime-style portraits when characters are speaking, both in cutscenes and during combat. I thought it was interesting to see the different facial expressions during combat when characters get hit or when they land a blow. However, I felt that the portraits for some characters looked better than others. Overall, though, they did look nice. The music in this game ranged from pretty good to forgettable. There really weren't many tracks that made me want to rock out or get excited, but there weren't any that annoyed me either. Overall, the soundtrack was passable. However, if you're the kind of person that likes to listen to their own music or listen to a podcast while you play a game, rest assured you're truly not missing much. The story in this game is pretty straightforward, and isn't going to blow anyone away, but it's very charming, and it doesn't need to be anything more than what it is. I felt that the simplicity made it more enjoyable. Since this is a Working Designs translation, the pop culture references and overall sense of humor you would expect from them is still there. However, even without the charming Working Designs translation, the characters themselves do a good job of being likable and interesting. One very interesting aspect of the game, actually, is it has 5 endings and 3 different story routes. Depending on how you play the game, you can force the story into 2 completely different story branches. If you're playing the game normally, you'll be on the Kingdom route, which has a good ending and a bad ending. After beating the game once, you can replay it again going through the Kingdom route, and then at some point, you'll be given a different option that wasn't there when you first played through the game. This allows you to go onto the Ruin route. And finally, if you get to mission 3 with Bastion, the main protagonist, on level 8, you can get to the Empire route, which has 2 endings depending on which girls like Bastion. This is fantastic for replay value, and seeing the story unfold in different ways. This also allows you to choose which romantic interest the main character will have. If you're into that sort of thing, that's definitely a plus. So coupled with a good story, likable characters, and that classic Working Designs sense of humor, the cutscenes in this game are simply a joy to watch. Now it's time for the meat and potatoes of the game, the combat. Like I said before, this is a tactical grid-based RPG. More specifically, this game shares in common with Fire Emblem. Much like Fire Emblem, there is no backtracking and grinding for XP. The game is 20 chapters long for each route, and you must think very carefully about who attacks and who gets XP, to make sure that your team is balanced by the end of the game. However, a key difference from Fire Emblem, other than the branching story, is that when characters level up, you get 3 points and you can choose how to level your characters. This is good as it allows you the freedom to choose how you want your characters to grow, as opposed to the semi-random stat growth of the Fire Emblem series. Another key difference is the skills that characters learn. Depending on what ATACs your characters use, what weapons, and what elemental gems they use, your characters will learn different abilities. For example, Reina has a spear using ATAC and a water gem, so she learns different skills related to those conditions. Characters will also learn these skills depending on what stats they decide to level up. For example, the ability Ice Shard requires at least a level 1 water gem, 8 dexterity, and 6 defense. Different gems also have varying degrees of power. Even if you have 10 dexterity and 8 defense for Ice Storm, if you do not have a level 2 water gem, you can't use this ability. Something interesting is the fact that these characters use steam-powered mechs in battle, and for other than just being really cool, it actually has a real gameplay effect. Depending on what attacks the characters are using, it can determine what weapon they use, and it also increases different stats depending on which one it is. As there are certain characters you get during the course of the game that leave your party, it becomes imperative to take away their attacks and give it to your other teammates that require it more and will stay with you for the rest of the game. There are also dormant and support skills in this game as well. These become really useful throughout the game and can change the tide of battle. For example, since there are no traditional healing items in the game, you must make use of support skills like Gaia Heal and Holy Light in order to recover your allies' health. The dormant skills, however, allow things like allowing your characters to attack twice in a row, which becomes extremely useful as the game's difficulty ramps up towards the end. The game also makes use of an AP and FP system. AP works as you would imagine. Certain skills need a certain amount of AP to work, and walking your characters around also takes up AP. However, FP is very unique to the game. It stands for fatigue points. It adds a really unique element to the game. Dodging, defending, and using attacks adds to your FP. And when your FP is maxed out, it makes your characters dizzy and unable to block attacks until their turn comes back. This system can either become very useful or a huge pain in the ass. You can use it to your advantage, or the enemies can use it against you. It works both ways, and can really play into your strategy. One final thing to mention about the gameplay would be when attacking and being attacked by an enemy. Now, games like Fire Emblem make it so that every time you attack, or are attacked, the enemy always counterattacks. This game, however, lets you decide whether to dodge, attack, or block. This addition to decision making makes a big difference. Some choices are better than others depending on the situation. If you're low on life, dodging might be too risky and you may need to defend instead. If your health is doing good, maybe you can take that shot and attack instead. There are other such situations that have other variables that you need to keep in mind. I really liked this, as most grid-based RPGs either, like I said for Fire Emblem, force a counterattack, or like Disgaea or Final Fantasy Tactics, they just take the hit unless you have a certain skill. Things like this set Vanguard Bandits apart from other games in the genre. There's a lot of complexity to the gameplay, which I think makes it quite addicting, especially since the gameplay appears deceptively simple at first. Eventually figuring out how the rest of the game works becomes a lot of fun. Now, if you're interested, in the description box below, there is a link to a PDF file of the original strategy guide of Vanguard Bandits released by Working Designs and Monkey Paw Games. I actually highly recommend using the guide in order to find out what stats you need for certain skills, how to get past certain missions you're stuck on, and how to effectively get on the alternate story branches with ease. The gameplay in this game, in my opinion, is the game's strongest aspect. It's truly fun to see your strategies unfold in battle, especially later on in the game when you get more and more powerful allies and attacks. In conclusion, Vanguard Bandits came to me as a surprise. I wasn't expecting the game to be as good as it is. The charming story and deep combat make this a truly enjoyable romp that I plan on playing more than once. If you have a PS3, you can get this game for $10 on PSN, which is, trust me, a great deal. If you've never played a grid-based RPG before, I would say that this is definitely a good first try, and even if you're a veteran in this genre, I sincerely doubt you'd be disappointed with this game if you haven't tried it already. This has been Shintai, everyone. Take it easy.